This is a show where we like to bring people to you that are making a change in consciousness in our planet, hopefully for the sake of evolution, but I don't think there's much question about that. My name is Veronica Entwistle, and my guest tonight is NANDHIJI, who comes from, obviously, I would say, with your beautiful spiritual reputation from India and also from Los Angeles. And I'm excited to talk to NANDHIJI about consciousness and how you're dealing with that these days. Into the show.
Namaste, Divine Veronica, and thank you for having me here. Thank you. It's
I'm
so
so
wonderful.
pleased to talk to you. You have so much to share with us. What got you to, I think, experience such wisdom? I'll just let you talk about that. How did you get
Yeah,
there?
yeah. Goes back to to many years ago when I had come back from England after my studies, and I was over ambitious, and I had businesses in over 4 countries, and one day I felt I was going to die. It was so clear that I was going to die, and at that point in time, I had so many other indications within me feeling death was nearby when one evening I opened the door of my house and a young saint comes to me saying, "You have death before you. Would you like me to take you through your death? Would you like to come with me?" And I said, "I've been waiting for you all my life." He took me to the forest, took me through a particular process where I saw my death, I felt my death, and then I felt so many deaths of so many of my past lives. And when I came through, I realized I was a huge, big, vast, immense being inside this body. And this body felt so small. And then that began my journey to go within because what I experienced in that was joy, happiness, just totality of being, especially the word freedom. And I wanted more of that. And so I went deeper and deeper. And the next 9 years was going within myself, meeting up with so many of my other gurus. And just at the point when I felt this was so beautiful and phenomenal, now what? That's when I realized that here I was in America. I landed 10 days before September 11th. So when September 11th did happen, it was an affront to my innermost being, especially when the name of God was used over here. And it felt so inhuman that we could do this to one another. And my question at that time was, what is the solution? And as I went deeper inside myself, seeking the solution, that's when I realized, yes, there is a solution to this age old problem, and that is consciousness.
Mm.
After the Declaration of Independence, which was freedom for a nation, the next step for humanity is declaration of consciousness, the intrinsic, inherent right of every human to have the principles of consciousness. The moment we set the new paradigm of consciousness, then we would need to update and upgrade our belief systems. The moment we realize that we are all one in consciousness, we would cease to kill another. We would not harm another. The principle of nonviolence is very much in recognizing that we are all one and the same. Likewise, is understanding the divine feminine, women when they are as treated as in righteousness and equality, the whole of humanity rises up. Now, much of all the hassles we face thanks to belief systems is because it's warped from the very beginning. And all of this, all of the challenges we face in all of our belief systems dissolves away in recognizing one fundamental truth that is in all religions, nearly all, and that is understanding the kingdom of us. We are the divinity. So if we see divinity within ourselves now, who cares what we call that divinity? Everyone has their own unique relationships. So through this journey of uncovering myself was the recognition of the truth of why I'm here. And when I say why I'm here, then I realize the purpose of humanity. Humanity needs sense. We need to coexist. And to coexist, we need a higher layer of consciousness for each of us to be. And that is the fundamental intrinsic right of each that exists within each. Yes.
Wonderful. I think that's really very, very touching. Now, what is consciousness? Can you give it a little bit of a definition for people?
Yes. The word consciousness is as complicated as saying who is God. At the same time, where the clarity of consciousness is where we think from is what produces that quality of thought. In other words, if we were wise, we were in a layer of consciousness that is able to produce optimal thoughts. Consciousness is the platform from where our thinking is that determines the quality of thoughts and likewise the quality of our reality we unfold and manifest. So if our consciousness is from a higher place, with wisdom, we create heavens. Lack of it creates all the problems of the world, right? At the same time, the same word consciousness is the solutions to just about everything. All challenges faced, consciousness holds the solution.
And are you teaching that, Nandhiji?
My teaching is called mastery of consciousness.
Okay,
And,
wonderful.
it's like there is the story behind a little story behind that. And that is, you know, there was a time when I was meditating in the caves when in the in my reality world, things were getting to be so challenging because all my businesses, everything that I had before had fallen down. So here I was in the cave meditating when I met three sages and they were in silence for over 21 years, 20, each one of them had been in silence for more than 20 years. So my question to them was, when I'm here in the cave, everything is nice and peaceful, but downstairs in reality, it's war. What is the form of yoga I need to practice downstairs, down in the reality? And after a long silence, one of them broke their silence to say, what use is our silence if it cannot help humanity? And he broke his silence to speak to me. So as he started speaking to me, it was just waves and waves and waves of energy. Every word felt like huge big seeds. And when he finished speaking, he said, we'd like to offer you a gift. What do you desire? We'll give it to you. So I started laughing, saying, you're not going to be able to give me what I asked for. So what's the point in me asking you for it? They said, no, no, no. Tell us, and we will give it to you. So I said, okay. Give me the wisdom behind all the years of your silence. For, for some time, there was a shock, and they said, you can ask for anything else. I said, this is the only thing that's true. Nothing else is. And then they said, now we know why we broke our silence for you. And they put me in the middle of them and they started meditating. And I felt a surge in my energy. And I realized I had no more questions to ask. And then they said, we have a gift for you. And that gift is Saivam Vetri. Saivam means consciousness. Vetri means victory. Victory to consciousness. This is our gift to you. And I realized this was the singular intent of all the sages through all the times in the world, from Christ to all the beings of light who woke up. Consciousness triumphs. And when I when I look back into that wisdom that they had over the many years that they extended to me, that is consciousness. So my book is called Mastery of Consciousness. My teachings is called Mastery of Consciousness. That's what I teach. And the moment we attain consciousness, we step into uh, the mind beyond the mind, which is called the supermind by the sages. The sages denote it as the sleepless sleep. In other words, we can be the multi-potential being we are when we've woken up to the mind beyond the mind. So when you meditate, that is the benefit, to awaken the vast, infinite potential within ourselves. That's what happens when we meditate. So when we've been able to wake up to our fullest potential, we know we are able to complete and serve our highest purpose, the purpose of our existence. Now, when we know, we are inspired beings. When we're inspired, all the genius wakes up. This is why it's so important to meditate, to awaken to our highest potential, to be the states of joy and inspiration, motivated, and to be able to accomplish the impossible with all our genius awake. This,
It sounds easy, Nandhiji.
the reality is, it is. The reality is, it is. For instance, how difficult is it to make your heart sing? If your heart is singing, and if you are in a state of joy, that is so natural to you. And that natural state is within everyone in the form of inspiration from knowing. So, how do you get to the point of knowing? When the mind has come into stillness. How do you come to the place of stillness? When you're dancing, when you're excited, when you're superlative, when you're in a superlative state of joy, there is stillness inside you. So when you're painting or when you're doing the music or anything super creative, you flow. That within the flow is meditation. So this beautiful state, you could say the most sublime experience that all of us can have at any given time, is so much within us to reckon. Simply by understanding we are the spirit having this human experience. And we know time and we know timelessness. Timelessness is whom we are. Time is what we are having as an experience. The moment we've aligned our timelessness to time, we are the states of joy, vibrating and fulfilling our highest wisdom here.
How are we going to deal with all the wars here? You're talking about stillness and music and joy and growth and expansion of people and so on. How do we deal with such terrible controversy among people? Do you have any simple, brilliant?
All conflicts, yes, of course, all conflicts can be resolved from inside ourselves. If, for instance, we are awake within ourselves, then all conflicts are over. Now, what does that mean? What it means is when you go to a guru, an enlightened master, the only thing worth asking an enlightened master for is give me your consciousness. And a, a true guru, a master, is able to light your lamp inside you, your inner guru. In other words, there is the energy and there is the grace within every one of us. Once that lamp is lit, then we begin to start evolving our animal to human, and human becomes the divine. So, to light your inner lamp is the first and the most important need for anyone. Once you've lit your own lamp, you have a core within you. So when you're sad, you can go inside that core instead of having instead of getting into any addiction. You can go inside. When everybody is alone, everybody has experience of loneliness. So things like loneliness, when the mind goes up and down, which is natural because our breath keeps flipping to the left and the right. And every time it flips, the mind goes up and down. And when the mind goes down, we could utilize that as a blessing to go deeper within ourselves and light our lamp, our innermost lamp. And ultimately, it is that direct source connection, source God connection with each of us can have that essentially awakens us to expand consciousness. As we expand consciousness, we think from wisdom. As we are from thinking from wisdom, all the bad nature of us, the animal nature of us, dissolves away to becoming the divine entity that we all are. We are literally angels in the human body. Now, in our wisdom, we manifest heavens as our experience and as realities.
So the declaration of consciousness is that to take us into supportive environments where we're all, many of us, working toward consciousness.
I would say that would be a, a too deep an understanding to come to that process. For starters, it is that every human desires peace. And if we want peace, there is a law of coexistence, there's a rule for coexistence. And that coexistence, the rule for coexistence is, it starts with one, nonviolence, two, women's equality and women's rights and women's righteousness and women's reverence. The moment we revere the divine feminine, humanity is blessed. Three, safeguarding our children, educating our children. Four, respect and treating our elders with love. Likewise, freedom of thought. Who cares whom I worship or whom I don't worship? Freedom of thought is such an important word. Next, all consciousness, all paths to God, source. The commonality is consciousness. This is where unity is. If we can recognize the fact that everyone's path is beautiful and everyone's path needs to be celebrated, not tolerated, celebrated, then the world is a better place. Likewise, when we come together, we understand that we need to take care of planet Earth. We are the ones who would need to be taking care of planet Earth. So here it is. And then the next dimension is, what about consciousness in every organization? In everything that we do, if there is consciousness, that turns the table around to the newer paradigm. And that is seen as what we are doing as a software company, as a software endeavor of creating the alternative social media consciousness, social media super app, which is consciousness in all organizations, consciousness in every action we do. Likewise is Likewise is
And
the
have you
coming
got
together.
that going? Pardon me?
Yes, yes, we are nearing launch of this. This I've been working on this for the last 12 years to put the idea together, and now we are nearing launch of CMS, the consciousness super app is nearing launch. Yes. So coming back into declaration of consciousness, it all starts with a fundamental need, and that is all philosophers, thinkers, realized masters, poets through history have utilized one word more than the word love, and that is freedom. Everyone desires to be free. Now, this word freedom is actually the word liberation. Liberated from the mind, liberated from the body, liberated from circumstances, liberated from limitations, liberated from lack. So, when we attain consciousness, consciousness is self empowering. Consciousness creates abundances in all its forms. Consciousness also enables all relationships to work with harmony. So, the attainment of consciousness is paramount, and it can all happen when we sit down to experience the quiet within and meditate. As simple as that. Simply meditate and climb up to a higher place. And from this higher place of thought, everything is possible. We are the solutions. In other words, when we step into the vibrancies of our higher self, that is, that every one of us have that higher self, the higher being within us, we are now expanding consciousness. This consciousness gets nurtured and grown as we are in the flow as a human. And this is where the word dharma steps in. Dharma means, from this context, it means goodness. So when we are conscious, there is a level of goodness in us. All that we do accrues greater goodness. So we become good and we utilize and we do greater good. And this is where grace happens. Now, when we do yoga, when we meditate, when we do any activity, most times it is push, discipline. We push it. We keep pushing it for discipline. But there's another factor called pull. And the pull is grace, the grace of transformation, the grace of instant evolution from being the animal to the human to the divine. That's like an instant, it happens. In my experience of having woken up and gone within, that is the transformation I have been witnessing of myself. That everything is so much from within, and we are constantly, dynamically transforming ourselves. And it's never ending. It's constant in growth. It's constant in becoming vaster and more immense. And this is the possibility within every one of us, because knowingly or unknowingly, this is what we all seek. We all seek to be superhuman. We all seek to be greater than our problems. We all seek something beyond our circumstances and challenges. And it is there. It is there for us to wake up and understand whom we really are, the vast, immense being of light that each one of us are. The moment we recognize this, now we look at our challenges and we say thank you to the challenges that brought us here in the first place.
I was just curious about, like, so if we're doing the Declaration of Consciousness for America, for example,
Mhm. Okay.
what kind of routes do we take?
Yes. Let's take the word religion out of the picture when
Okay.
we talk about declaration of consciousness, because this is not about religion anymore. This is beyond religion. This is about each one in their fundamental need for greater liberty. So when we say we want a society that is liberated, that is inclusive, that is equal, and that is good for everyone, it all begins with understanding ourselves as in the principles of consciousness. The moment we've understood ourselves as a conscious being, we allow everyone else the same freedom we want to accord for ourselves. We wish for the same goodness that we seek for ourselves for others. So now in this in the in the actual realities of of not only America, I'm talking about all nations, we as humans have it in us to be the angelic goodness. That goodness exists in every one of us. Only we need to recognize that. And when we talk about America, for instance, and declaration of consciousness, no one would want declaration of consciousness more than America, because this land is built on freedom. This land is built on equal opportunity. It's built on hard work and discipline. All of this is what consciousness is. It also means being able to create that environment of coexistence, not only between us as citizens, but also globally as one human family. And the law of coexistence, again, is consciousness that enables it, because we are taking away the conflicts. What are the conflicts? The conflicts could be my God is greater than your God, or your God is greater than my God. All this is conflicts. If all this was taken out and said, we say, okay, we recognize the divinity within each one of us, conflicts exist no more, because now we've taken away the very fact of saying, of differentiating each of us. Now, if we've taken away the differentiation between each one of us in our own ways, all that remains is we as a spirit are having the human experience. And that human experience is I, and it is now the we as a sum total of all of us. This whole idea may sound spiritual, but in reality, it's so practical. Practical in the sense, this is the desire for everyone. Every one of us seek to be happy. Every one of us want to attain more. Every one of us want prosperity. So the commonality is what we all desire, and that is there in simply waking up to each of us waking up to a higher self. And to wake up to a higher self means awakening all the potential that is rested in us. When we are inspired, we are happy, undiluted and happy. When we are inspired and doing our heart's work. That's why I would say, when our heart is singing, isn't that so beautiful? And that is the fundamental need and the fundamental desire. And that's the fundamental accomplishment of anyone at all times, to be in the state of joy. This is success. This is victory.
We're so divisive, and our country is so textured with all these different ideas and all these flash in the pan things. I just dream that, wouldn't it be wonderful? To me, consciousness is a kind of an emanating energy that we get to share, right? When I say emanating, it's like people who are really conscious radiate. The energy is really lovely, and that in turn is contagious, is it not?
Of course it is. At the same time, we also need to understand that it is all so much within each one of us. And all of us seek to want to be the higher vibrancies. Consciously and unconsciously, we seek it. People take on to addictions like drugs and alcohol, what are they seeking? Seeking forms of happiness which is outside themselves, thinking that they can attain it easily. But the reality is that if they are able to tap it from inside, now drinking a cup of water could make you high, right? A breath of fresh air can make you high, and that is what everybody seeks, and yet it's there. It's
Hmm.
simply a matter of wanting it. So and wanting it from inside yourself, that makes all the difference. This is a powerful time to look at in history because consciousness is waking up everywhere. You go to a bookshop, you'll see so many books on consciousness today. You could see so many of the younger generation talking from consciousness. With the advent of yoga being popular, with the advent of, you see all the advertisements, like a bank advertising peace of mind with somebody meditating, right? So it has caught up. The idea has caught up. It's caught up to anyone and everyone knowing that, that like there is a way to get better. And the way to get better is to go within. That that you could say that fact has now is now with just about everyone, especially with America. And whatever America does, the rest of the world apes. The rest of the world does. So what's popular in America is popular across the globe. Yoga is popular in America, so yoga became popular in China. So what I'm coming to say is there is definitely a awakening happening, and especially from the West through Europe, and India is beginning to come out with its teachings, and the teachings is so much of depth in its teachings of thousands of years is now coming out because now there's a demand for it. Now everybody's seeking for the next higher dimension, the next higher principles. And so the fire is on. So I would say we are at a time when we are ushering this beautiful age of consciousness.
And you can teach little children to be conscious, can you not?
Not only can we teach them, they are more ready now than they were before. The next generation is one step ahead of us. When I would remember the time when they would call our age group the indigo children,
Right.
and then the millennials as the crystal children. And now comes the next generation, and the next generation, they're waking, they are, at that age itself, not only are they awake, they are also ready to take on to the much higher layers and levels. So I have confidence that the world is heading in the right direction, and consciousness is now the idea in time, unstoppable.
Also, I wanted to ask you this. Like, it seems to me that the frequencies in the universes, I've read the stuff about this, are moving up. Do you think there's a rapport between consciousness in expansion and the frequencies rising on our planets and solar system and all that?
Um, with the advent of IT,
Mm-hmm.
information information technology, with
That
this
old
particular
thing.
age, a lot of transmission is happening.
Okay.
The Gayatri mantra, for instance, anyone can pick it up from the internet today. At the same, it's a mantra that enables you to elevate your consciousness in ease. This just 50, 60 years ago was virtually unheard of in the West. And about 100 years ago, this could be transmitted from father to son, and that's how it was passed on for thousands of years. Today, it's there available for anyone who can go online
Can you
to.
recite the Gayatri for us? Or is that too much?
We could do that now. Okay. Om Bhuma Bhuma Mahanannaminnam Varenyam Bargo devasya dhimai dhiyo yo na pranchodayat.
Beautiful. Thank you.
This is like this mantra are so many amazing mantras. Now, the power behind these mantras is that there were sages who sat in this vibration for days and years together in this mantra energy, incubating the mantras, and and then when it's passed on, it's that ancient presence in the mantra alongside with the vibrancy with us in the now. That's why our consciousness expands so easily in
Hmm.
an instant. And this consciousness, when we say it's expanding through all of humanity so fast, it all is the question of everyone seeking to evolve, to be greater, to be better.
Hmm.
Ultimately, goodness triumphs. Consciousness is empowering. And this is an empowerment everybody seeks. And the moment we seek it, we have it. Yes.
And the chants are contagious too, aren't they? They sort of move, the vibrations move through us all, do they not?
Very much, very much,
Mm-hmm.
very much. And when we talk about these mantras, you also talk about the Siddha mantras. For instance, one of my gurus was meditating for 18 years, drinking 1 cup of milk a day. He never
Wow.
moved for 18 years. He had gone beyond sleep. It's called the state of Turiya, the supermind.
Wow.
And the mantra he chants is so powerful that they would say, when you go to see him, just receive his mantra and mantra alone. That's all you need. And whatever you desire will be manifested as when you are with that mantra.
Hmm.
So this is what it is, that the mantras carry so much of energy within it that the moment we start reciting it, we attune to the reality within the mantra. So when we look into what is the mantra, if that mantra is, say, God, we become God.
Hmm.
And that's what the mantra is. So every mantra has its unique energy of a unique definitive form or unique definitive reality that within the mantra. So we ingrain that reality by aligning our frequency to that.
Hmm.
And that makes brings the manifestation power of the mantra to everyone's experience.
Are you teaching? You're teaching classes? What are you doing? I know you're amazing.
My teachings have been set up online. It's under the
Okay.
it's in my website nandhiji.com, nandhiji.com, and it's under it's we I teach as mastery of consciousness. I look in as that when we are in the reality world where we would need to essentially take care of our day-to-day needs, we are also looking at how we can align ourselves in a way in which life is in ease and life is in states of joy, while every moment we are not only fulfilling ourselves, but also evolving greater. Now, when we say evolving greater, it includes the realities of experience too. It includes it includes what life is all about. Now, if we've understood life from the perspective that today is the day I have, today is the only day I have, if we can understand that as a now, then we understand that we are the timeless being in time that is limited. So when we understand that time is limited and we understand ourselves as a timeless being here in a flash of a moment, here we will celebrate time. We will celebrate each moment. We will celebrate our doings. And that's what life is about, to celebrate how lucky we are, how lucky we are
I
how
love that.
lucky we are in this to have this human experience, to have each moment. Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't feel that lucky, but when you talk about it, I get that sense of progress, the unfoldment that goes on with the work toward consciousness. Yeah. So you're not going to give any workshops right now?
I do conduct workshops regularly.
Mm-hmm.
I do conduct and I've been teaching over the last 24 years. I've been teaching, and they've all been put together and brought together. And also I look into it as this way: the the responsibility of a master is to light that innermost lamp within the seeker.
Mm-hmm.
So if that lamp is lit inside you, now it becomes your journey. And when it becomes your own personal journey, you have the fire to nurture, and you have that which evolves you. And that is everything. So when we have our own inner fire, we set discipline to have more of the state of joy. And we
Mm-hmm.
have more of the state of joy. We know ourselves to be wiser. We know that we have our wisdom coming from inside ourselves. And ultimately, the experiences are: am I liberated? Am I liberated to being the spirit having this human experience?
Mm-hmm.
When we say the spirit having the human experience, it makes all the difference, because here we are devoid of ego. When you're
Mm-hmm.
devoid of ego, we can circumvent all the emotional roller coasters in life, from anger to pains to emotion. All these are roller coasters in life. The moment we've been able to translate ourselves into being the spirit having the human experience, almost instantly the human limitations is negated.
Mm-hmm. It's easier to get out of it than we thought. I want you to give us your website again, because I think people would really enjoy going into your, whether they're chants or your words
Yeah.
on your website.
Yes. My social media handle and my website is Nandhiji, NANDHIJI, Nandhiji,
Nandi.
nandhiji.com. And YouTube is where I have a lot of my teachings. For
Yes, I've seen them. That's great.
a lot of my teachings on YouTube. And it's see, I look in as it is my dharma, my duty to share the light, and that light I share by lighting the light within each of us. And that is my duty. That's one part of my being. The other side of my being is: what does it take to reach consciousness to every human on planet Earth? And that comes from declaration of consciousness on a macro layer, with nations adopting it. I am hoping and praying for India to adopt the declaration of consciousness and for it to be taken to the United Nations. I'm also looking at America as a possibility, and Europe as a possibility of adopting the declaration of consciousness, because this is the solutions to the changing
Mhm.
demographies of the world. This is the solution to bring a world together as one humanity, and to essentially be the solutions to all the challenges we face. And yet,
Mhm.
when you go to the human end, the human individual end, here is CNES, CNESS.ai. That is the super app. It's a social media platform,
Mhm.
but with many functionalities where we are addressing the needs of, of humans. The first is that everyone is lonely. When we use a social media, we end up becoming more lonely than ever, the
Ah.
regular social media. But what will it take if we can make a person whole and complete in the experience? That's one. The second is reliability, connectivity with each other. Can't
Mhm.
we connect to enhance each other, to multiply each other? So all of these, we have about 9 special functionalities, and that's why we call us the super app. the next generation app, the next generation of social media.
Talked about people being lonely. Remember, we spoke about that.
Yes.
And I'm fascinated by that subject because we all have felt that and we do feel it.
Hmm.
But I often think that our loneliness comes from that deep search about who I really am and not some externally composed vehicle. And I kind of think if a lot of people, and I just thought you might have something to say about this, but if a lot of people are really finding out more and more about who they are, the loneliness should dissipate because the sharing passes on your frequencies in such a way that you become involved with lifting others and so on, even if you're not speaking about it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. We've got to see loneliness from inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Within ourselves, 5 times during the day, our breath flips to the right. Check your breath at the time of sunset, it would be on the right side. Check your
Really?
breath check your breath when you're not feeling that well, it would be on the left. Now, every
Really?
time the breath flips to the right and the left, we experience a huge layer of emotions moving through. The mind itself basically working alongside like breath, working up and down. For some reasons, everything could be going wrong in your life and yet you're happy. Or for some reasons, you're just basically sad for no reason at all. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one part. Then comes reality itself that can take you up and down. Your reality could be you won something good, it makes you feel so happy. You've lost something, it makes you feel sad. Okay, that's one. So you have the word loneliness popping up in all these places of so many interactions of our experience. And yet we can choose an experience where we can say, I am, where we can feel the wholeness of being. The wholeness of being where you're alone and yet you own the world. You don't need anything from outside to keep you happy. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
within. You're in a state of ecstasy because everything is within you. And that is where it is. Have you lit your inner lamp?
Wow.
If you've
It's
lit
like,
your inner lamp, now you are in ecstasy all the time because you are working, you are in the unions of yourself and source God as the higher self, and constantly your ecstasy is expanding itself. And you reach a place where now, when you are alone and happy, your vibrance is so powerful and so beautiful that you attract everything around the world to you.
hmm, I love that. Remember Maharshi, you mentioned him in one of your videos that
Mhm,
I saw recently. And
mhm.
he always talked about who am I, or that was a mantra that he used. And I've used that a lot. And it helps becoming that.
No, it's beautiful to think of that question, who am I?
Uh,
Now there is a truth, or you could say there's a wisdom beyond who am I, and that is once you said, okay, I am, now who is that I am? That I am is not the I of ego anymore. It's we of all the sages of light being one. In other words, the spirit that we are is not an individual I anymore. It is the we. Now, if you can include in the we Christ and all the beings of light as one, that is whom we are. We are not limited by the egoistical I anymore. We are the we. Now, when we are the we, what are you here to do in time? You are the spirit having the human experience. The spirit is all the summation of all the masters as one.
mm,
Now, what are you here to do? This is where we realize loneliness cannot exist anymore. We are full and complete. We are whole. We do
mm.
not need anything from outside ourselves to complete ourselves inside ourselves.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well,
Take the
thank you.
case.
Yeah,
Yes.
pardon?
No, I was about to mention this, like we take the story of Mahatma Gandhi, of Nelson Mandela, when they were thrown into prison, when they had to experience solitary confinement, especially Nelson Mandela, when he had to experience that. At that time, he was able to tap into his inner light. And that inner light, instead of in a prison, normally the punishment is loneliness. Instead, he made it wholeness. And the moment he made it wholeness, he was able to expand in consciousness. And when you expand in consciousness, it is a vibrancy. So when it came out to address the freedom movement, their vibrancy was so powerful, the whole of the nation woke up. The
Isn't that
whole of the
wonderful?
nation galvanized to that. This is what you would say incubating that loneliness
Wow.
into the greatness of wholeness.
Mm,
So
I
whenever
love
you
that.
feel sad, whenever we feel lonely, go within,
Okay.
light your lamp, multiply yourself a million times, and emerge the angelic being.
Thank you
So
so
we
much. Thank you. Nandaji, I've really enjoyed this. There's a lot more we could ask you one day if you will come back.
wonderful, wonderful, divine one, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. And it's
You know,
Nand. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, if there's one thing I would leave as a message to everyone here, light your inner lamp. Ultimately, it is you with God, source, goddess. This is our personal relationship. The moment we've understood, we've taken birth here as human to evolve to becoming the divine. We all are the angelic beings capable of immense goodness, capable of immense light, capable of creating heavens. Our own happiness will also be the happiness of humanity as one human family. Yes,
Thank you so much and many blessings. Thank you for being with us for a whole hour. It's been great. Thank you.
grateful, divine Veronica.
Many
Grateful to
blessings.
everyone here. Wonderful.